Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Mother You Know, The Woman You Don't. And we are here again this week, winging it as usual. We are, this is the first time I think we've had five people on. So we have, this week we have very special guests. We're continuing with our friends and family and just the women that are closest to us and who have been most integral in our lives. And this week we have my Aunt Patsy and my cousin Alisha with us. So my Aunt Patsy, we're going to do a family tree. We're going to have to put this somewhere on the website to just connect all these, show how all these people are connected.
Yes, we do. We do.
So, I think 2 weeks ago, Mom was up in Dallas and she was with Shirley and Eddie. And we were talking to Shirley about Grandma Connie. So we just had me and her and Mom just kind of, and Lydia talking about, or no, I don't think Lydia was with us. It was us three talking about my Grandma Connie. And so my Aunt Patsy was married to my dad's brother. My dad has one brother, and he was married to my Aunt Patsy, and they have my only biological cousin on my dad's side. So Alisha is our first cousin. Aunt Patsy is my Aunt Patsy. And I said, I told Shirley this last week, and the same is for you. It's like, I don't remember, I guess I don't remember you and Eddie ever being married. I just remember you always being in our life and Shirley always being in our life. So it was just always this, all these relationships always in our life. So, and I will say the most special thing about my Aunt Patsy is that at the age of 48, I still get birthday cards from my Aunt Patsy in the mail.
That's true.
She never
If you
forgets a
don't know
birthday.
somebody's birthday, call Patsy.
Yeah.
Whose birthday is what?
So,
Absolutely the truth. Absolutely the truth.
So for my 48th birthday, I have a card, and every year I pull the old one down and put the new one up above my desk, and it says her for a year. So I get
Thank you so
the
much.
only person that gives me a birthday card every year in the mail on my birthday.
And that is something I learned from my mother.
Okay.
My mother was the card queen.
Was she?
Yeah,
So
was
it's
she?
so sweet. It really is
Yeah.
so sweet. It means so much to me every year. So, and like I said, I change it out every year, put the other one in the drawer and hang that one right back up, and it's just happy birthday from your Aunt Patsy. So I love it.
Good.
So hopefully today we're just going to kind of dive into, I know you and I talked for a while the other day, about this, and kind of explain. We just want you to kind of talk about your mom, your life growing up, and then we'll certainly touch on Grandma Connie. This will probably be here all night, talking with all the things that we could probably talk about with you guys. But you're just those people that are just always in our life, and like I said, even now we don't even get to see each other, but maybe once a year. And when we do, it's just the most comfortable, pick up where you left off kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I know for all three of us, it's really just that special relationship on this side of our family, which is not very big. So,
No.
yeah.
Not
So
in comparison, yeah.
Yeah, not in comparison to Mom's freak show side.
That's true.
So tell us a little bit about where you were born and raised, and did I tell you I found out Mimi's name?
Yes, I did. We were going. I know Mimi's name. I know her name is something other
her
than
name is
Mimi.
Mimi. Her name is Mimi.
Yes,
That's her name.
yes.
We had a whole debate about it.
Yeah. And then later,
But
Daddy
she's
come in and
not
said,
her
"Now,
name.
do you remember Patsy's mother's number?" He goes, "Name." He said, "Well, Mimi." I said, "No, her real name." He goes,
It's not Mimi.
"It's Mimi." Yeah, her first name. So yes, you can divulge that right now.
Okay. Well, my mother's name was Clarice Josephine Manasco Gregg.
Unless you said
wow.
it in Arkansas, it was Claire's.
Yes,
Claire's.
Oh,
Claire's
okay.
in Arkansas. And she was way ahead of her time. Oh, I don't know if I was supposed to talk about me first or her, but anyway.
No, keep going. Whatever
However you want to.
She was way ahead of her time because she was a teacher and even a county superintendent way back before women even had education.
Yeah.
So she had to leave her home. She was one of 10 kids. She had to leave her home when she was in the about maybe 6th grade, 5th grade, something like that. And she went to live in Oklahoma with an aunt so that she could continue her education. because that was very important to her. And she went all the way through, got her college degree at Southeastern State Teachers College in Oklahoma. And she graduated. It took her a little while because, it was hard bumping around places that she had to live, but she graduated from there in 1932
Wow.
and
Yeah.
was a teacher, like I say, and then she went out and campaigned to become the county superintendent for the whole Pushmataha County, and she won that. And Alisha and I found a picture yesterday that said Greg for county superintendent. I've never seen
neat.
that
Oh my
picture.
gosh.
Yeah.
But she
Wow.
started out in one-room schools and, had all 12 grades in one-room schools. And that's how she met my dad. She had my dad's 3 of his younger brothers in that in that little country schoolhouse. And he wanted to find out who the new teacher was. So he went with the excuse that he needed to borrow some shoe polish because he went to the boarding house where she lived and met her. And anyway, that's how my mother and daddy met. And she was teaching his brothers. So,
Why?
but anyway, we lived in Oklahoma. She was from Arkansas, but we lived in Oklahoma. And we moved to Texas when I was 3. The superintendent of schools in Galena Park and the principal had heard about her because she had to give up her position as superintendent when she had me late in life.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let her hold the position anymore. So they had heard about her and they drove all the way almost to Oklahoma to interview her and
Yeah.
talk her
So
in.
I'm sorry. She lost her position because she had a baby.
Yeah.
How
And
late
it was
in life?
and it was her.
Yeah, it was her. It was you. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
me.
How old
Yeah,
was
but
she when you
She
were
was
born,
nearly
Patsy?
43. But the county superintendent, I guess, couldn't be, staying at home with the baby or whatever. I don't know. But, and she never let me forget that. She said, well, I had to quit my job because of you, But
Oh, no. That's not nice.
yeah,
they have
You
laws against that now,
Oh,
about that.
you
yeah.
didn't
she
ask to
was
be
teasing
born.
because she had been trying to have another baby for 10 years and had not been able to. And then all of a sudden I came along in prime time of her life. So, but I was born when she was about almost 43.
Wow.
So anyway,
So wait, you have older brothers, right?
I had one older brother who is now passed away.
Yeah.
But he was 10 years, almost 10 when I was born. And the reason that it took 10 years is because she had him at home and he weighed 11 pounds,
Gosh.
almost 12 pounds. And she had him at home and, he ripped her all apart. I don't know if that's something I want to say on this thing, but it took her a long time and to get pregnant again.
Well,
And
that's
then,
what we're all thinking. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
Thinking 11 pounds. It tore her up.
she had a country doctor that didn't take care of her right.
Yeah.
And she went to another town and at about 9 years out. And they stitched her up and she kept trying after that. Then she was able to get pregnant, but the doctor didn't believe she was pregnant because she had 6 tumors in there also. And he kept saying
Oh,
it's just
wow.
another tumor. But he finally agreed at about 6 months that, yeah, I guess you're pregnant. So when I
It could
was
be a
born,
baby.
when
Yeah.
I was born by C-section, he took me and 6 other tumors out. And Mimi said, there's your tumor over there, whatever. So
Oh.
anyway,
I was gonna say you're not a tumor.
I
No.
know I'm not a tumor,
I
but
never heard that part.
yeah.
See, that's the part
Always-
one when you don't know.
That's right.
That's why we're here.
She was a great teacher. She loved it. That was her life. She was meant to be a teacher. I'm sure if y'all ever came over to our house, that my mother would sit there and have you write something or read to you or tell stories or something, but that was her life. And
Yeah.
She loved it. Everybody, and when she came down here, she became a first grade teacher. And everybody remembers their first grade teacher.
Yes.
And the whole time I was growing up, she would always she'd have candy or something for the kids. And if I found it, I'd go get a piece. She said, "That you can't have that. That's for my kids." And I would think, well, what am I? Chopped liver, But she
Now,
used
you
to
are
get,
her kid. Yeah.
yeah. But she used to always get invitations to weddings and baby showers. People never forgot her. And she was just an incredible, strong woman,
Yes.
Ornery is
she-
everything, though.
Yeah. Didn't she teach at Cloverleaf
She
Elementary?
did.
Yes.
She
So
taught at Cloverleaf until
she
she
did.
was forced to retire. Back then, they made you retire at 65.
Right.
But she found out she could substitute just as many days. So after she retired, she started substituting. Then she would substitute all over the district.
Yeah.
And everybody always requested her.
I
But
can't remember if it's Shirley or Claudia. One of them two had her as a
I
teacher.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Found
wow.
it out from
Yeah, I
that.
remember that. Miss Clarice was one of their teachers. I can't remember if it's Claudia or Shirley. But one of them had her at one time.
At Cloverleaf. I didn't know
Yeah,
that y'all
Cloverleaf.
ever went.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we did. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So
But anyway, she was,
And she substitute taught until she was 86.
yeah.
86.
And the only reason she quit then, her hearing had gone bad and she couldn't hear the kids anymore.
Oh my
So
goodness.
she went ahead and quit. But she
Sounds
thought
like a
her life
blessing to
was
me.
over because she wasn't able to teach anymore.
Yeah.
My goodness.
But everybody in the neighborhood, everybody had learned something from her,
Yes.
Yeah.
But she was way ahead of her time, that was for sure.
That's awesome.
And that's why I never wanted to become a teacher.
Oh, is that right?
Because she started me grading papers. Like when I was in the second grade, I had to grade all these workbooks for her all the time. And I just did not like it. And I said, I'll never be a teacher. It's like, no way. And I pretty much stayed to that. So
Yeah.
now I worked at a university, for a few years, but I worked more with the people
Yeah.
than to worry about grading papers. But anyway, that's part of me. But I was born in Antlers, Oklahoma. No, I take that back. I lived in Antlers, Oklahoma, but I was born in Durant, Oklahoma.
Durant. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people they call it Durant, but it's Durant to most of us. Excuse me. And came to Texas when they talked her into coming to teach, and we were only going to stay 9 months. And now it's 70 years later, and I'm still here, because I'm 73 now. So
Yeah. Yeah, it passed real fast, didn't it, girl?
yeah, I did. Blink of an eye.
Yes.
But everybody in the whole community knew her, and at Wood Forest, when we all went to Wood Forest, she always got the oldest visiting mom.
She did. Yes, she did.
And she was thrilled with that. So
That's the only
she
reason
was
she
the
came
only-
over here. That's the only
That's
reason
right.
she came
She
over
wanted
to
a
go to
prize.
church with us. Because she
Yeah.
knew she was going to win.
Yeah.
Nobody could compete. That was for sure. Not
Yeah.
even this town, either.
Yeah.
Oh no. No, the Diamonds were too busy competing for the most children.
Yes.
Okay.
And your
Yeah.
mother and daddy too.
That's and so mother would relinquish it every other year. Okay.
No.
So
Oh, that's so funny.
I was thinking, I was trying to remember who else was the oldest mother a lot. Wasn't it Fanny Jeans's mother? I don't know if you remember Fanny and Meredith Reed's mother was there.
I don't
a
remember
long
their
time,
mother.
so, but anyway, yes, now that you said that, I remember your mom getting the oldest mother. So
Yeah,
she
that was
deserved
a
it too.
part of her life. I tell you,
Yes.
she liked that.
Wow.
But again, I'm going back to the, what we're supposed to be talking about, the impressions and how that affected us. But my mother was ornery sometimes, but she held her own with anybody. But yet she had a heart of gold and she'd do anything for anybody. But Yeah, she could be ornery too. I was telling Alicia last night about her stomping her walker when she was, at her, and she'd get mad about something and she'd just slap that walker, on the ground. So but there was one thing that she did. Her ministry was card ministry at her church.
That's right. Yeah.
Anytime anybody was sick, she made all the sick visits. And she sent everybody a card, and she sent everybody, not just in her church. She came from a big family. She sent everybody cards and stuff. So I'm not real good at it all the time, but I try. But I learned that from her.
Yeah. Well, it works on me.
Yeah.
I tried Lydia, but I think I missed. Lydia's birthday is coming up, so I guess I
that's
better
right.
get everybody a card.
Well, I'm currently living in a hotel, so I don't have an address. So, I mean, I know you're thinking about me, so it's okay.
I am. I always think about you on
Put it
April
on
13th.
Facebook, girl. Put it on
Yeah.
Facebook.
I know
I
you're
think
never
about
going to
you
forget,
again.
so you're good.
Yeah, I don't forget birthdays, but anyway,
And
what else?
it only really matters if you remember about mine. So it's okay.
Well, that makes me feel special that you keep the cards and
I
you
do.
place them.
Right there. Fun.
And you'd be
Well-
surprised how that means something to you when you get older and you look back
Yeah.
at all the cards. And I used to watch my mother sit and read the cards that she got from her old students and stuff
Yeah.
over and over and over and over again. Just it means a lot. So
Yeah.
It does, because I can tell you right now, every card that has ever been sent me, I have. I kid you not. I've got wedding gifts cards. But then, to be honest about it, I ended up with all Mother's genealogy. And I'm telling you, every card that was ever sent to her over the last 70, 80 years, she kept and I got. So I guess
that's
guess
so
it's a
much
thing.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're
So-
Was it like a
precious.
box of all the cards like filed in or
Girl,
something, or like a
boxes
big
and boxes and boxes of cards and letters and all. So it's history because
Yeah,
like I said, put it on Facebook. That's just it. You put it on Facebook, you don't have nothing.
and then
But
it's gone.
right.
that's just this generation, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you find out stuff on Facebook. So cards are like special.
Yeah.
Truly. Patsy.
That reminds me of when Eddie and I left England. I had so many cards and letters from when y'all would all write me that I couldn't take them home because we didn't have enough money for the weight and the luggage.
Right.
So there was a big burn barrel out there, and he told me I just had to burn them. And I stood at that burn barrel and cried.
Oh my
as I would
goodness.
pitch letters. Some of them I kept, but most of them I couldn't keep because I couldn't get them home. And we were, our luggage wasn't taken care of for us. Like when they ship people home, you had to be an officer for that. And we didn't have that. So I had to burn them. And boy, I
Oh my
cried.
goodness.
So
I was like,
I feel a little bit lost. You and Uncle Eddie, when y'all were married, y'all lived in England when he was in the military?
yes.
Okay.
We lived in England.
We have to back up.
Yeah, we're gonna
'cause we
do
don't
it.
even know how y'all met
met.
yet.
I know. That's what I was like, question.
okay.
Let's so you
We're going
you
there.
didn't want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
You didn't want to do all that, and you're raised by your mama, and your daddy,
Yeah.
and then what was it like whenever? Because I mean, obviously, Mimi was very much education oriented and stuff like that. Whenever it was time for you to get out of high school and stuff, did you go to college? What did you want to study? What's kind of your educational stuff?
I went to University of Texas for 3 years, and I was studying speech therapy to be a pathologist, to work in hospitals to help people with that. But then when I quit, because Eddie was going back, he'd already been in temporary duty in England. And then he got his permanent orders to go back for 2 years. So I quit school going into my senior year of college to go, when he proposed and we went to England. And I always said, well, I'll just go when we get right back, which that didn't happen. But so I left and landed in London, England to meet him on my 21st birthday.
How did you and Eddie meet?
In high school. We went to school together.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was in the band. I always sat in the stands, being in the band. And I used to see this guy walk the track all the time. He would sit down for a football game. He just walked the track all the time. And I thought he was pretty good looking, And me and another friend kept saying, look at that guy, But I didn't know who he was. So that was in the fall. So that spring, I went to the track with her because she wanted to go visit her boyfriend at the time. So I went up to the gate with her, and Eddie, who was a friend of the guy, walked up. And we started talking, and then we started talking after that. And I guess he called me or whatever. And then I think I invited him over or something, but my mother and daddy did not want me to date him. And I was just flabbergasted. I thought, why,
Did they
And
think he was Italian?
Yes. Because Annie
I don't
told
know about
Mike.
Italian, but they refused to let me see him. So I did not get to go out with him or anything. So I did the
Not-
unimaginable.
Yeah.
We snuck around. I was
Scandalous. Alicia's
Eddie
got that
went
look on her face that says, "This is the mother I didn't know."
Oh,
Yeah,
I
this
knew
is the
that.
one
I knew that part.
No,
she
she let
knew
you know
that.
that. Yeah.
That's why she's corrected her. She's like, back up, sister.
I knew that
so,
part.
so Eddie would have his friends pick me up and then drive somewhere, and then I'd get in the car with him.
There we
And
go.
then I don't know. I don't know if the people brought me back home or he just brought me back home and dropped me off. But that went on for months. So and then that summer after we met, I got really, really sick and ended up in the hospital. I had mono really bad.
Yeah, you
And,
did.
Yeah, and then
And where did you get that from?
I actually got that from Linda Anderson, a girl from drinking after her.
Yeah, okay, that's the story we're gonna stick with. I say let's go with it. Yes,
It's so
okay.
funny because my brother had gotten hurt in California right before that, and he had to have a thing. He lost his finger and some other stuff. But my mother and daddy flew to California to check on him, and they walked in there, and he was actually a girl was sitting on his bed visiting him, and that was who he was dating at the time. And she sang with the Fifth Dimension. She was black, and they were flabbergasted. So then,
Oh my
2 or 3
goodness.
months later, I'm in the hospital, and they walk in, and Eddie's sitting on my bed. He had hitchhiked to the hospital to check on me.
Oh
So
my
I was like,
goodness.
oh man. So they finally it came prom time, which prom was in December for me. I begged them just this one time, just one time. It's my prom. Let me go out. And so they did. And so then we started after that. But it was a long haul after that till we finally got married. But that was my 3rd year in college. So anyway, that's how Eddie and I met. But we lived in England for a couple of years. And then I came back. I was going to go straight back to school, and I got accepted right back into school. And right when we were supposed to move back to Austin in August, and I think in July or something like that. Well, that's when he left me for the first time.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to go back to school right then. Now we were separated for a while, and then we got back together and worked together for a while, and then met. I mean, we made Alisha,
Yay.
and she's frozen.
All
Oh,
over
there
for
she
me.
And then when she was little, she was about, I guess, 14 months old or something. He left again for the last
Yeah.
time. So anyway, I always said that if I hadn't have married him then and finished school, and then he would have been out of the service, and then we got married, it might have been a different story. But
Yeah.
it
And
is
I
what
wouldn't
it
have, it
is,
wouldn't
and
have
it's
been me.
God in
It wouldn't have been
God
me.
has his
It wouldn't have
plans.
been you. No, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just is. That's the all that trauma and everything at that particular time. That was about the time my dad died too. All
Mm.
that going together made me
Yeah.
who I am now. So
Yeah.
and it gave me a empathy for people that are going through that. I mean, death is hard. It's very hard. But
Yes, it is.
being rejected and divorced, that's even harder, I think, because you feel like, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I good enough? And all these things, these issues. So it's a lot to overcome. But eventually you move on and you just do fine. We now
You learn
can,
to breathe again.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can be at the same places and things now because 40 years has gone by. After 40 years, you got to learn to forgive. So anyway,
Well, and also all of that stuff affected who I am. It made me,
Yeah. 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 We talked about that with with the girl's dad. And how, I've talked about how all that went and how that affected them, and how, honest to God, I would go back and do it all again. I'd make all the same choices because they're just the greatest thing I've ever done. The three kids are just the greatest, and none of that would have happened had it not been for decisions and
Yeah.
heartbreak and all the things. And now, Dwayne and I have been married 25 years, so on this backside of it, you're like, it's okay. It's okay. I wouldn't, change
and you were
anything.
blessed to have someone that would love them just
Oh,
like
yeah.
they were his own. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
So when
it is learning, I think, to breathe again, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, and
Well,
how old
don't
were
you
you
think-
when you? Oh, sorry, Mom. Go ahead.
I was going to
No,
say,
I was just. Go ahead, Patsy.
I was just going to say that, I raised her alone all those years. And I think that made me a stronger person too, because I didn't have anybody to help. And I just did it. I mean, we made
Yeah.
trips, just the two of us by ourselves, going across different places in the country. And we have a story about going to California. We sat in the floor for days and rolled pennies. You know how you used to have to roll
Yeah.
pennies?
Yeah.
So we'd have money to go. And we went to California with rolled
Yeah.
pennies.
Yeah.
So it made us stronger.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
However,
Yeah, I
she
think
can't
so.
remember any of that. I don't think much.
I can remember some of it. Some
You're like,
of
but
it.
trust me, it happened.
Yeah.
How old were you when you had Alisha?
I was 25.
Okay, so you were young. I mean, 25 is a baby
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna wait till I was 27, but I had her at 25. So, and then she had one at 25. So we're kind of like that. But yeah, 25, I say, is still a baby. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
pregnant. I was like pregnant at 21 going, I'm too young for this.
Yeah.
I changed my mind. Put her back
21 is
in.
You
young.
can't take your mind,
Yeah.
can't cram
Yes.
it back up in there, can you?
Yeah. Or maybe at 22, 23. I just remember thinking, I'm still too young for this. So,
Oh, yeah.
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 Oh,
But it's
listen, I
just-
think at 48, it's a miracle my kids are alive. Because I'm not qualified to do this. I wasn't
No.
qualified to do any of it. Still not.
It's true. It's
It's just the
It
grace
makes
of
a big
God that got
difference.
y'all there, because wasn't me.
True.
So,
And
But
so,
that- but that's
Patsy.
the gift of God is learning to forgive and accept, all that,
Mhm.
the heartache, and letting God take that care of that, and even just being Alisha, being more of a broken home and raised by a single mother. I mean, you got character that some people just don't have. That God used it because He said He would. He said,
Yeah.
I'll take all this and use it for his grace and his glory. And he does that. So it's not anything I've experienced, but y'all have, and my girls, my grandbabies have. So,
And I remember, like Dorcas said in the beginning, Aunt Patsy, that you were always there. You were always
yes,
Alicia's mom, and Uncle Eddie did, eventually marry Aunt Shirley, and it was always just this, and I didn't know it at the time. It was always just this blended family, whatever the circumstances. You were always just there. You were never, I don't know. In my memory, you were never Eddie's ex-wife. You were just Aunt Patsy. You were always just there. You were there at Grandma's house, or every time Alicia was there, we were just, I don't know, we were always just there, and I said I have memories of Mimi just always being.
yes,
She wasn't my Mimi, but she was Mimi. And it just, I think that that's a testament. And it wasn't until I was an adult that hearing your story or whatever, that there was never, I don't remember there ever being animosity. And I'm sure there was. I'm sure with what you're saying, that, there's challenges and things like that. But I definitely think that, as the adults, it was just family. And I remember, Alisha, I remember you flying back and forth a lot to San Antonio, right? That was like,
Yeah.
and I remember being a kid hearing those stories, and you were like an unaccompanied minor.
It's true.
Like,
It's true.
I
She
mean,
would
by
have to
myself.
leave and go she'd have to leave and go Christmas. She would open presents and then I have to take her to the airport, or she'd come in. It was hard, but she was. Go ahead.
No, go finish your sentence.
I was going to say you were adventurous because you even got to walk up and down the aisles passing out little wings. The
Yeah.
stewardess knew that, she
At
got to
7
go in the
years old or
cockpit
whatever.
and
7, 8 years
Yeah.
old. Yeah, and I
they
never.
they put her on the wrong plane a couple of times and freaked me out.
Oh my
So-
God.
I don't remember any of that.
Oh,
And I
Yeah,
guess
that's why I
that's
say
kind
you-
of part of it. It's like even if it happened, like we weren't unaware of all of the drama that may or may not have been happening. Like we just didn't know. We just kind of, this is just what we, and I of course have my own trauma, different things that kind of go with that, but like it was just the way things were, and I didn't know any different. Like the fact that I never got to stay one place Christmas or in the summers, like Christmas Day, I had to leave from whichever, and then that was just the way things were for me. And so when I'm like, people talk about stay all day and play with their whatever, and I'm like, what's that like? It's, I never really knew that.
Yeah.
But
Do you think that because for my girls, I worry about that with them. I always worry about, the choices we made, because I probably could have very easily said, hey, just go to your dad's this year and I'll do it next year. But I never wanted, which is something I'm discovering, that a lot of these choices I made were based on what I wanted.
yeah,
We were talking to poor Riri the other day about celebrating birthdays. And I was talking about how me and Mariah like events. And so with Mariah, I would put on these massive birthdays, and then I would do the same thing for Ariel. Ariel don't like people. Ariel doesn't want the
She don't like
attention.
crowds.
She don't like crowds. And she don't like, and all this stuff I realize now, and I think, what did I put that baby through growing up, like making her do this stuff that she didn't want to do. And it was all because I didn't want to feel guilty that I gave Mariah an elaborate party, but didn't give Ariel an elaborate party,
right.
So, but the same thing with Christmas, it's like, oh, okay, we'll split time, but I'm going to do it better. And you're going to, so you're going to split time, but it's going to be better here, just, and just making them go through that. So I guess, I mean, you and Philip have been married a long time, and y'all have 4 really, five kids, right? 5 kids.
Five.
Five really great kids. And obviously do your own traditions and things like that. So do you think that plays, I don't know, into your life anymore, or do you think it's like I just have family, so you don't even
Oh
think about
no,
it anymore.
it absolutely, because I'm even now still like that, because when I got married, then we have to split between his family and my family. So then it became like that. Where we still had to split time with the kids, and so, or grandparents this side and grandparents that side, like, and with us, of course, there's 3 sets of grandparents. So then it became even more of like a,
torture.
No, it's not torture, but it's one of those things, like, it's just what we have to do. And with like growing up like that, I had 3 sets of people. But like, you guys are my only cousins, because my Uncle Ron he never married and never had any kids, my only blood cousins,
and there's just 4 of us.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's
So I
why
was looking
I
at those
always
pictures
tried
last
to be
night.
around. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure she knew her cousins, because I'm from a family that I had a lot of cousins, and they were my best friends, still are to this day. And I wanted her to feel part of y'all,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, I'm sorry for interrupting, Alicia, but I don't know if y'all remember, like, I would have y'all come spend the night. Dorcas, you came and spent the night with us at that little bitty duplex I lived in, and we walked across the
I
street.
remember the little duplex.
Yeah, we walked across the street and went to the ball games.
Yep.
And then I took you and Lydia and JD, and Alisha, we all went to see Little Orphan Annie at a musical.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember any of that.
Things.
I really, no, I do. I remember all of that. I always remember us doing stuff together, or being at grandma's together. That's something else I always remember is just very vividly being in, or being at Christmas at grandma's, and all those memories. And I always remember us all being together.
Yeah.
So the divorce and things like that for us, I mean, I know it's your trauma, but you're heavy, but for us, it always just felt like, oh, it's just family. It's just family. It's no nothing. Whenever you met Eddie, let's stop for just a second and talk about Grandma for a second. When you met Eddie, what were your first impressions of Grandma Connie and Usador?
He reminded me of Big Chief Sitting Bull.
That's what I always say.
And he was very intimidating.
Yes, he was.
Until I learned that he was just a sweetie pie.
Yes.
Just a
little teddy bear.
And then, Grandma, she was like a bulldog, sometimes. She
could be.
Or like a chihuahua, She was blowing and going all the time. And
Chihuahua.
how chihuahuas fast. That's the way she was. But I just remembered that she was very creative, could make anything, made all those little Easter dresses when y'all were young, and for someone, well, this wasn't when I first met, but she could learn to drive when she's in her 60s, taught herself to read, and
she did. Yes, she did.
Quite a woman, But now when we first met, I didn't see any differences. It's strange. My mother and daddy raised me to love everybody, to be friendly to everybody, and that's what I did. But then when all of a sudden I wanted to date somebody, they never really said why or what, but it's like, whoa, wait a minute, So I think that's because they came from Oklahoma.
Yeah,
where
just how those people were raised, and at the time with that, because I had asked Mom about that, if Grandma and Grandpa had a problem with Dad being Hispanic, and she said no, the only problem they had was that they didn't want him to be Italian, that she couldn't date an Italian person.
Why is that?
That's the proof, because the only Italian couple they knew,
the man was a bully.
He was mean. He treated his wife bad. He was a big, burly, bushy mean old man, and
Hardly
she
in,
said,
was she?
yes, girl. And she said, my girls will never date an Italian. So
she was fine with you being
she was
Mexican.
relieved because she
If
thought,
he
well,
type-
when she first met him, Serenelle, she said, well, Serenelle, if it's Serenelli, then that would make him
Well, which it
Italian.
was, right? Originally, it was going back. It really was.
we don't know.
Yeah. I think that was
I'm doing the
wishful
ancestry
thinking.
thing, and I don't know.
Yes. No, there
At
is
one
some,
point on something it was
no,
spelled
there's
with a
someone
C,
in
but
Connie's family
Yeah.
that's done the Serenelle, and Serenelle does go back to Italian roots, but not, on this side of
There ain't an
200
O in it.
years.
Okay.
No. So she was relieved when we met Isidore, because clearly he's Indian or
Yeah.
Hispanic, and
Yeah.
so
Well,
she was
he's
just
really
not a problem at all.
He's Aztec Indian, or he was Aztec Indian and Mexican, so that made him. I forgot
But
what they
not-
called it.
But not Mexican from Mexico. It was
No,
from
no.
Texas.
yeah.
Yes.
I
Like I
mean,
said, I've
yeah.
gone back a couple of branches on the
Because he was
ancestry.com
born here,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
Was he born in
Uh-huh.
Texas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isidore was born in
okay.
Corn
Grandpa was
City.
born here, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they were both
In
born in
Corn
Corn City, and Grandma was born in Corn City. But Grandma has a lot of Castilian. Her
Yes.
ancestors come from Spain,
Yes.
and
I
she
have
was.
all that paperwork still. Do y'all
Patsy.
still have
Do you?
yours?
Oh my gosh, we need that.
It was in my. You know how it was? How it was saved from the fire? Because I had it in a safety deposit box, and I still have it. All that
Patsy.
paper.
Okay, so
Oh
one of
my
the biggest
goodness.
conversations we've had is we have no clue as to any of Grandma and Grandpa's, other than like Grandma's sisters, and we know her dad's name and all that, but we have nothing
got
else
it.
on Grandpa.
She
I got
Patsy.
it because she gave me
And-
those paperwork because she said so she could Alisha. I pass it down to her, so she could get royalties whenever it came down to her.
Got it. Got it.
You mean
And
you mean the land in
the land, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the story is the King of Spain gave them land here in
Yes.
Texas, which turns out to be like Colleen is on it, and they
Well,
lost
Yeah, we
on
own
the
the whole
papers-
county Kennedy, don't we?
it's
What
it's
am I
on
just
the
hearing about my heritage?
'Cause
Yeah,
you ain't getting
in the-
none, that's why.
in the paperwork though.
I
It
could be a
has
landowner.
the
Yes,
longitude and
I
latitude.
have a set of those papers.
Y'all froze on me.
Yeah.
That has the
So were
latitude.
you saying, Lisa, it has a map?
No, it has
What were you
like the
saying?
coordinates. That paper, because remember a
Oh.
couple of years ago when Uncle Ron passed away, we looked at the safety
You-
deposit box and looked at all the things and the paper,
Oh yeah.
and it says the coordinates on there.
I've
Okay.
never heard any of this.
Yeah.
And
You
Grandma
didn't?
used to tell me, yeah, Grandma used to tell me, and I had no idea why, but she used to always tell me, like, remember, you're a Salinas.
Yes, Salinas. Yes.
Yeah, and she would tell me that. Like,
Yes.
I remember her saying, I'm like, okay, all right, I'll remember that. Back then I was like, I don't know. But she used to tell me that all the time.
Yeah.
That's why she had blue eyes, because she had the Spanish blood
Yes.
in her.
Castilian. Yeah.
His dad,
Yeah.
From
her dad
Spain.
had blue eyes too.
Yeah.
They're gray, y'all. They're
Oh,
gray. They're not
Tano.
blue.
Yeah, because Dorcas got
Tano.
They're
those.
gray.
Yeah.
They're great.
Jesse.
No, you're not.
They're
I-
gray.
Oh, okay. I can
He
tell.
had blue
Yeah, I
eyes.
mean, I
He
knew
had
Grandma had
blue
more
eyes.
Spanish in her. I always kind of make the joke that I think Grandma's mole never used like chocolate. It's because it's really more
Because
Spanish
it's a
mole.
Spanish mole.
Yeah, than like
Spanish.
Mexican mole. But I had no idea about the other stuff they were talking about.
Yeah.
Well, see, you're learning something too, huh?
know.
That's it's the
So,
woman you
Sylvia,
don't know.
you still have your paperwork too?
I have some of that paperwork. Yes. Yeah. So, but I think we need to come and compare. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's the one thing I don't have is for our 4 children, that information. So I need I need pictures.
Yeah.
I've seen,
I
I've got a
finally-
few pictures, but not very much, you know.
And like I said, I've done
I
a family
opened,
tree on Ancestry.com, and I've tracked it back a little bit, and I found some original documents, like when I was subscribing to it and stuff. Like I found some young, like census records with Grandpa's name on it when he was a kid, and he was a field
Same.
worker, and I was able to see a lot of that.
How
But
did I
it
not
only
know that?
goes. It's on my Ancestry.com account. Like it's in the tree. Because once you put it in your tree, it just stays in there with any of the
Well,
documents.
I've never seen your
So-
account or
Oh,
your
well.
tree.
Well,
Okay.
admittedly, the Chapman side, I've been able to go back like 4 or 5 generations and find a lot of stuff.
Yes,
It was
yes,
harder on Grandma
yes.
and Grandpa Sarinel's side.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was just,
Yeah.
there's not, I think
That's
it
because
just
we
takes
didn't
more.
like to fill out the papers.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I also a couple of years ago I found Grandma's mother was buried in whatever town that is. Can't remember. Helena.
Corn City?
Helena.
Helena.
I
Okay, Helena.
don't know how to
Okay.
say that. I don't know how to say it, but
See, I
she's
want that.
buried there.
I need that information. Yes.
Well,
really.
I went
Is
I
that
went there
Joseph? Was her Josephina?
No,
What's her name? Josephina?
no.
Augustina.
Ernestina.
Alicia? Yes, Ernestina.
It was Ernestina, because I looked for her, and I tried to find her because I was doing some research or whatever. I was trying to find her grave, and I went to the wrong cemetery, I think, because I couldn't find it. And then, like after we left, because we had gone through Carn City, and after we left, I realized there's another cemetery on the side of the road for the Mexican side, like for the non-rich
Yes.
people, I guess, that were
White.
yeah,
Yeah.
the non-white
Caucasian.
people.
Yeah.
Yes. That were
Other.
the other cemetery
Yeah.
was
Other.
and I didn't get, so it's on my bucket list. Yeah, so
Well,
she's buried
anyway.
in Helena somewhere.
Well,
That's
So I
that's,
found
interesting.
Grave Finder.
oh,
That you can
really?
go in there and
Grave
search around
Finder.
people's
Yeah.
graves, and because I was able to find like Grandma Chapman's, because
Yes.
great
Oh.
grandmother Adeline, I was able to find
Yes.
hers on
Yeah.
Grave Finder. So I
Right.
bet, yeah, you can
Okay.
find a lot of stuff
So
in
we'll
there.
have to. We need a slumber party, girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Bring all the memorabilia. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do.
I
Yes, we
did
do.
open up my paperwork. Recently I went to the safety and I opened it up to look at it and stuff. And I think took it out for a while. I was going to give it to Alisha, and then I thought, nah, she moves too much. I'm going to put it back in the safety deposit box.
If one day we can prove it all belongs to us, man, you know, for sure.
So I don't know if any royalties are out there, but
Yeah.
so those towns are on the land. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I
Well,
had somebody tell me
I
like
thought you
you're
might
talking
be-
about.
The
Yeah.
King of Spain give someone named Salinas all this property, all this land when the Spaniards owned Texas.
yes.
Okay.
And so some of that land was given to y'all's ancestors named Salinas somewhere. So it is or it's not. I don't know. But
I
I'll
need
pull it
another
out.
project.
Yes.
So.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
How have I never heard this? How have I never heard this from Grandma? Maybe
you
I don't
just
know.
never paid attention. I
Maybe
guess.
I got the
Probably.
papers. I thought for sure.
Oh, I know about this.
Dorcas, did you not know anything? Dorcas?
No, I knew about
Okay,
it. Grandma
see?
used to tell me
See?
about it.
Yes.
Same
no
thing.
clue. Grandma did not tell me that.
Yeah. It's just the oldest child thing. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're not in the club.
The first child, the first one.
That's what it
It's that-
It ain't in,
it's that-
it ain't in
that-
your name, bro. You don't get it.
Really not.
It's because you're the middle child.
I know. I'm always left out. That's fine. I've learned. I know my place in this world. That's fine.
Poor baby.
Whatever.
Poor baby.
So if has you just jumping back to you're married to Uncle Eddie and with Grandma, and they're fine with you, I assume, because Mom said they were completely fine with her. But Grandma didn't have any, you know,
Oh,
she wasn't worried about you being Italian, I guess.
no,
No, she wasn't worried
uh-uh.
about me. And my daddy was fine because I guess later on, because him and Grandpa used to build stuff together. The carport that's over that old house, my daddy and Grandpa built that. And the carport that's over my house in Jacinta City, Grandpa and my daddy and Mr. Davis, who was my friend's daddy, built that. So I guess they
Still there.
were able to do that.
The carport that was at Grandma's house before
Yeah.
she built the garage. I dream about that a lot. That carport, always being underneath that carport with her.
It's
Really?
still
It's
there
weird.
because I
It's the
drove by
strangest thing.
there the other day and to look
Yeah.
at the house.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah,
That
I
is
regret
still
not
there.
being able to buy that house when they sold it. I wish we could have
Yeah.
bought that house. I would have
Yeah,
probably
and I
kept
wish
that
the
forever,
boys
even
would
though
not
it's in
have
North
gotten
Shore.
rid of it. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Listen,
what's
we'll
the
let
matter
that
with
go.
you
We'll let
people?
that. That's what I meant to say when I said that.
And just
But I was
say
trying to
what
be
you gotta
nice.
say. I'm like,
I
what's
was
wrong with you
real
people?
salty.
Like,
I was real salty, and we really,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Turned
really
out we had
even
no
tried to
say in
have
that.
I
I
but I
know.
tried to have a conversation because Dwayne and I were already married, or I don't think we were married, but we were about to be married, and
You
it
were
was
about
like
to be
one of those
married then.
things that I was really feeling bad about and wishing that we could have. We shouldn't have we couldn't buy it. Like, we just had no way to buy it, but I wish we could
no.
have bought that house because I'd still own it, even if you just used it as a rent house or whatever. I don't
Well,
think I would ever let it
exactly.
go.
Exactly.
And I was telling
Oh.
Aunt Shirley, one of the things I remember most about that house is her azaleas.
Yeah.
And Dwayne and I, when we bought this house 5 years ago, I told him, I really one day want to have these flower beds and I want azaleas wrapping the house. That was in my grandma's house. And during the pandemic, we did that. And we purposely went out and found hot pink azaleas, I think they were the darker ones. I don't know. They might have been the more pinker ones, but went and bought azaleas because I wanted that around my house. And in the spring when that always
Yeah.
reminds me of her. But yeah, I
Yeah.
hated that
She
we
did
didn't
have
keep the
a
house, but
green
I dream
thumb.
about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
she
She
could
did.
grow anything, I tell you.
Yeah,
Well,
she
She
that was our childhood. That was our growing up was there, like
Those
Yeah.
rose
The
bushes
all the
plants,
right
the
things.
there.
garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the garage sale,
The
all
garage
of it.
sale.
Yes, the garage sale. Look, she
All
paid
of
that
it.
house off.
garage sale.
She paid that house off by having garage sales. She could do
Yes,
garage
she
sales.
did.
She could
Yeah.
make a ton of money selling
She
things for a
used to
dime a
embarrass
piece.
me so much.
Yeah.
So going to garage sales, she would bargain, and I would just hide my head like, "Oh, Grandma," I couldn't do it like that. But
To this day,
Yeah.
I can't bargain at a garage sale. I won't do it. Like, I will pay double just so I don't have to. I can't do it. I
Grandma
negotiate. I
loves
can't
me
do it because I
supreme.
think it's that same thing. Like, I'm like, no.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh no, I'm so
I'll pay the
embarrassed."
quarter. I'll pay the quarter. I'm not going to negotiate at a garage sale. No.
It was terrible. I was always so embarrassed. And she'd say, "Take me over here." And I was like, "Oh no,"
Even that yellow sign with the red writing that's actually breaking by. It's so aggressive.
I still have that sign. I have that sign. No, I have painted over it and put rummage sale on it, but I've had that yellow sign for years.
Oh my god. But with that, she
Yes,
was
I did.
also like she frugal. She was frugal. But she was
Frugal, yes.
also really giving. Because I remember
Yes, she
at
was,
church
baby.
one time we were having to do donations. It was something like a scavenger hunt or something. But part of the scavenger hunt was to get donations for like some kind of ministry. Maybe it was a homeless ministry or whatever it was. And I remember we were running around town. We're running around North Shore with our youth leader, and we needed to get some clothes donated. And I remember that was just part of there. And I remember going to the house and going into the garage and opening that door. And she was in the kitchen, and we were kind of barging in there and staring the crap out of her. And she was cooking tortillas. That's what she did. And I told her about what's going on, and because she did have that giver's heart too, but she had that ministry heart. I remember her giving us so much stuff from her garage sale for the homeless ministry as part of our founder hunt and what we were doing as the youth stuff. But because she could take a knee And
Yeah.
she could, do all that stuff. And she, pour mouth it like nobody ever before. But she had such a big heart, and she would just give what she could. She gonna make it up. Is that she gonna bargain for us? You gotta replenish that for us though. But I remember
That's
like
true.
loading up the car with clothes and coats and all these things, and she didn't even like hesitate to give when somebody else needed it. And like she don't like me. She gonna have to replenish it, and I was a bit early. But
Yeah.
but she was just such a says that she could. She a little crazy, but she was ahead. Just
So we decided that was spicy. Okay.
Spicy.
Spicy.
I wasn't on the
Spicy.
road with Shirley. I was out of town, but yes. So do y'all remember when she got carjacked? And she
No.
fought those people. Like it was on her street. It was on Evanston. She got carjacked at the stop sign on the counter road, and unless it's just something I make in my head, I remember this. And she fought, and they threw her in the ditch, and she was pissed. Like she was so mad. And I
Yes,
said,
I recall
am I the
that.
only one who remembers
Yeah.
this?
But
But
I recall that. Now that you brought it up,
threw
I go,
her
oh
in the
yeah,
ditch.
that happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
with the shorts with the pantyhose underneath the shorts, and they got her knees dirty when they threw her in the ditch with her white kids. And she ended up in the ditch, and she was so mad that they took her car, and she was so mad that they threw her in the ditch. But she fought, like she went down
But she would.
fighting for her stuff because she paid for that car with cash. And like, and I remember like that's something
From her
we were
garage
like,
sales.
like yeah, I'm not gonna mess with her. Like I'm not gonna carjack her. But you get away with it, but
Feisty, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spicy.
very feisty. Spicy.
But on the other side of it, you know how you were asking me what was my first impression of Grandpa?
Yeah.
And he's so intimidating at first when you see him and all that. But I was telling Alisha about this a while ago. I said it was the sweetest thing because there was a period in our life when Grandma kind of cut us out because she was loyal to Eddie.
Yeah.
And if he had some other one, that other person was, and it wasn't even Shirley at the time. They weren't.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was. But Grandpa would sneak away when he could, and he would come to visit Alisha and I. We lived in the top half of that house, and I would say something about, where's Grandma? And he said, she doesn't know I'm here.
Yeah.
So he would sneak off about once a week and come to visit us to make sure we were good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And bring sweet bread.
and
Yes.
bring
Every time.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
about that. Yep. We
Yes.
always had
Listen.
sweet bread.
That's why she's chubby today, okay? That's why your girl is thick. Fried pies, okay?
We were talking about that. We were talking about that we saw those apple pies or those cherry pies that you always used to get us at the day old bread store.
Yes, the
Miss
day old
Baird's-
bread. Yeah, the day old bread
Yeah.
place.
Love those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I refuse to go to a day old bread place because I will walk out like fried pie stacked. Can't help it. Can't help it.
That makes me so sad.
All the
about-
little
Grandma used to
colors,
make
like
oatmeal cookies.
Well, it's an
Yeah.
emotional attachment to him. Don't
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah.
Don't you
I
find
think
it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's it literally is. You just say it. Several months ago, we went to Liberty, and there was a like a little in front of the Tractor Supply or something. They had like a little vendor thing, and I kid you not, there was a Hispanic lady there that was making fried pies. Girl paid $20 for a fried pie and ate that mug in the parking lot and nearly cried because it was so good. I walked away dancing. Like I was like, "This is the best fried pie ever." And Dwayne was like, "What is wrong with you?" That's the best fried pie I've ever had. Like I'm
right.
Yeah.
no, I told the lady I was like, "This is the best thing I've ever eaten."
Did you go back and
So
buy
good.
more?
I can't do it. No, like I can't. Like limits. We have to have limits.
We have limits.
I love that he came
That
to
does,
see y'all though. That makes me really happy. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And also yes, and he would come around and leave his ties off and say, Grandma, come eat. No, I gotta go. So Anyway, but yeah,
that makes me sad, and it speaks to her. I don't know if ferocity is the right word, or her fierceness, that she was either fiercely for you or fiercely against you. There was like no middle, or it feels like there was no balance there.
But
You know, which
But
is
I
not
will
she
meant.
came out
will
of that,
say-
right?
Huh?
Or like she eventually like
Oh, yes, that's what I was going to say. So the morning of the day Ken and I got married,
Mhm.
Grandma called me first and apologized to me for all that had gone on,
Yeah.
and wished me well for my marriage coming up. And then Eddie called and asked me to forgive him for all that he had done.
Yeah.
And so I spent most of my morning crying on my wedding day.
Yeah.
You know,
oh my goodness, yeah.
but they both, and they weren't even together.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he
Yeah.
wasn't over to her house or whatever, but they
Yeah.
both called and apologized and told me that they were proud of the mother that I was to Alisha, and they
Yeah.
thanked me
Yes.
for raising her, and that they both asked forgiveness for
Yeah.
the way they treated me. So
Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So-
I mean, I think it's like fiercely, it was, but it always seemed that way. It seemed that, I mean, I'm not know that was Edward's way, but as grandma, I do know that she could be either fiercely for you and would cut somebody for you, or would cut you if need be.
but I don't think she was really against me. She just didn't
Yeah.
know how to separate
Yeah.
that he was with somebody else,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and so, you know, she just kind of separated us out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
Just not knowing how to deal,
Yeah.
just not
Right.
having the tools to deal with divorce and deal with, because
When it's all said and done, you know, they never were educated. They
Yeah.
never went to school. So
Yeah.
there's some things they just didn't know. And
yeah.
it's not just education. They probably didn't know, not politeness, but what am I going to say? Common courtesies,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
She
Etiquette.
just
Well,
probably
it's also
didn't know.
just having the
Everything.
emotional not awareness,
Emotional
but emotional
intelligence.
maturity.
Yeah.
Intelligence or emotional maturity to go, okay, well, they're divorced, but we're still gonna, love, both of them.
Yeah.
And I will say that's something that the girl's dad, his mom is always been fantastic. Like every time I see her, just loving and kind and wonderful, and has just always been. So I didn't have to deal with that from his mother. She's just always been tremendous. And I wish we could have her on here, because I'd love to sit and talk about that one. But didn't have to deal with that, because she just was always so kind. And as with that, even at Mariah's graduation, she was the same thing. She was just tremendously kind. I mean, she'd come down and whispered in my ear, just, thank you for doing this. You raised such a great kid. She's wonderful. You did wonderful. You're a good mother. All the things that you needed to hear. Would have been nice to hear from somebody else.
Yeah.
She just was fantastic. So that's sweet that you got that redemption, because that is, or I don't know if it's redemption, but sweet that you got that
Validation,
minute
maybe.
with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my
Mhm.
question is, how much of that is cultural? I mean,
Yeah.
you can't dismiss the cultural upbringing on their side
Yeah, for
in a
sure.
world that we would never understand. I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Probably that's a lot of it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably I would say it's a lot of it. Because I do
Yeah.
remember one time Grandma told me, when we were living with her, one time, it was when I was pregnant, before Alisha was born, and she was saying, if you'll just let him do whatever he wants to do, he'll eventually come out of it. Well, I wasn't raised that way. You know,
I'm sorry, my head's about to explode.
I'm sorry.
There
Well,
would
you
be
see
a
why she was-
Jared-shaped hole in the backyard.
Yeah, I just said, I can't do that. You know, I
Yeah.
just can't do that. And she said, well, that's just our culture. You know, they just go out on you and stuff. I
Yes.
said,
You go
Like
out,
she
you go
had
stay
learned to
out.
live. She just learned to live like that.
Yeah.
Like and you
Yeah.
just
Yes, she did.
Can I ask
that's
him,
you just have
did
to live.
Grandpa like step out on Grandma?
I don't know.
We don't
I'm
know,
not
but
sure.
I mean we're hearing stories of he's got a whole other family.
I mean, we know about
Yeah,
the
but
kid
then
who was at the
after.
funeral, but that was like they've been divorced for years.
But
Yeah,
still,
That
like
was that was the funniest conversation I
That was
think I ever heard
embarrassing.
Daddy and Eddie have was in the hospital when Grandpa was dying. And Daddy and Eddie are literally arguing over Grandpa's estate and how to deal with this kid and Grandpa's estate. And I remember looking at both of them going, it's a trailer park in Cloverleaf. Give it to him. Like, what are y'all fighting over?
I
Yeah.
don't think that was really his child. I think that
Well,
was
I
the
don't think
child of a
so,
lady.
but
I think it was. I think I have an uncle something because when Grandpa was still lucid,
He looks like Dad.
he doesn't look it. When he was in the nursing home, I would take him. Grandpa liked Whoppers from Whataburger or from a Burger King. So I would go get, and I'd take him over to the nursing home, and I'd take him a hamburger. And I remember that lady had started coming around before he had moved to Dallas, to wherever, to be with Eddie. He was at the one over there in North Shore. And I would go over there, and this kid had kind of already started appearing. And I remember asking him, and I was like, so, who is this, this kid or whatever, Grandpa? And he's like, I don't know, Mija. He just showed up one day. I was like, 9 months one day? Your little girlfriend he goes, I don't know, man. He just showed up one day. I was like 9 months after, and he just kind of blew me off or whatever. He's like, I don't know, I don't know where he came from. I'm like, yo, what do you know? Where he came from?
So,
So
Sylvia, do you know the true story?
no, I don't know the true story. I know
one of those
what everybody
family
else
urban
know. I
legends
think
is going to
it's
go with us
fact
to our grave.
Yes, yes.
Or he's
but
going to
you
show
know
up
what?
on Ancestry.com one day. That's what he's going to random
we-
another uncle over here.
Betsy, I was trying to remember when
I think she was
grandmother
7.
Connie lost her mother,
I think
which
she was 7.
influenced her life forever.
Mhm.
You know, because Connor was mean. He was a mean
Yeah.
old man,
Yeah,
and she
That was
had to
her
become the
dad?
mother. Yeah,
that was her dad.
and he lived. He just died here recently. I mean, he lived to be old, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did,
He
but
Yeah.
I think it
in
was
his
already
90s.
like it was like 10 years ago or something. He died.
Yeah.
I have a picture of Lily,
Um,
our oldest, it was 4 generations, but it was not obviously with grandma, but it was with the Julia.
Jesse.
Julia
okay.
with Jesse.
Julia.
Yes. And me and Lily. When Lily was like 10 months old, and we drove up to Brownfield to see him.
Wow. Yeah, I've got a picture of Lydia and James standing with Kano. I think the one and only time y'all ever saw him or met him. Do you remember Lydia?
That was when me and Grandma and Uncle Eddie and James, for whatever reason, me and James were with Grandma and Eddie up there to Carn City. And I remember,
Yes.
I don't know why we went, but we went. And I remember that was like one of the first times I met Julia and Kano. And we went up there during the summer for a couple of days. And I remember is Julia cooking a lot. Like it was one of those things you finish with breakfast and you start cooking lunch and
See, that's where we get it.
those were
That's where we get it.
and
You know?
I don't remember why, but Grandma wanted to go and we went. And I remember tumbleweeds. Because you're up there in the panhandle and it was a Christmas thing, the tumbleweed. And I remember
Well, in
all
Brownfield
that. And I
or
remember
Corn
meeting
City.
I was like, not the panhandle, dude.
Never.
South.
It was
South,
south,
right?
Yeah, south
Corn-
of
Corn City is south.
of San Antonio.
And
But
Victoria
Julia
area.
lived in Brownfield.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Julia lived in Brownfield in the Panhandle. Yes, she did.
Yes.
yeah. I
So
remember
y'all
Eddie
must
and
have been in the
Brownsville there.
Panhandle. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was good times.
So
That's probably in the Panhandle.
It's like the
yes,
longest
if
trip
you went to
ever.
see Julia, it was in the Panhandle.
Yes, I
Mhm.
remember doing that, and that's
Okay.
where, like, if I remember correctly, Grandpa's father
Yes.
was up there.
He was
he was
there.
still living
Uh-huh.
up there.
Yes, but he
Yes.
was alive when Grandma died, right? He was at her
Yes, he
funeral,
was.
right?
Yeah.
Well,
And
yes,
remember
he
Grandma's
was.
Yes.
aunt, the one who raised her, who kept passing out?
Yeah.
That's it, because she was only 68 when she died, which is what I
Me-
just learned. Which is
Yeah,
Yes.
Grandma was young.
18 years older than I am right now, which is scary.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Younger
She
than
was
me
68.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's
Grandma
what I
was
mean. I was
young.
Yes.
thinking she was in her 80s.
No.
And Mom was like, she's 68. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah,
But
she
also
was
in my brain, I thought she was sick for months. And apparently it was not months. It was just she got sick and then she died. That was what Mom said. Her mama Shirley said that she wasn't sick for long.
maybe
From the
6
time she
months.
found out.
No,
Say again?
was it about 6 months? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe about
That
6
could-
months. You know. So
Yeah.
it was she would have been sick a long time, but I
When she
think
was
Shirley was
diagnosed,
saying
it
that
went really
it was cancer in her liver. Was
I
it her
thought it was
liver?
in her breast.
Lung. You see, I
Yeah,
thought
her
she had breast cancer
lungs.
too.
Yes,
But it was
she
her
did.
lungs that spread.
Yes,
But it was
Oh.
That
lung
was my
cancer
understanding
that
too,
she
spread.
did
yeah.
have breast cancer, but it was the cancer in her lungs that eventually took her.
Was that the origin
And
of
also-
it? That it spread to her breast, or was it?
I think
That
it
was
was.
my
I think
Yeah,
that's
I-
what
yeah.
Shirley said. Is that was lung cancer that had spread and
Yeah,
eventually got to her
metastasized,
breast.
yeah.
But there was nothing that they
Oh.
could have done. It was so bad that they. I always thought it was breast cancer, and she got sicker because she wouldn't have her boobs removed.
Well, that's
Like
what
that,
I
and
always
for some
heard
reason in my
too.
brain. Yeah,
That's
in
Yeah.
my
what she
brain,
didn't
that's
wanna
what it
do
was.
then.
And I always thought she was so vain because just get them cut off, you can get new ones, you're fine. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
You know, I'd
but
rather
it-
live
but-
than
but
have
that
my
wasn't the
boobs.
case.
But that wasn't. I always thought that was her vanity, you know, that would do that. But it was not the case. Shirley was said that it's her lung cancer that took over, and that there was nothing they could have done for her. It was already too far gone. By the time they really discovered it, so
Yeah, so y'all have to you three
not
women,
smoke, y'all.
yeah,
She
yes.
smoked.
Don't
To be
smoke.
she smoked for years and years and years and years.
She did smoke.
I don't ever remember her smoking.
No,
No,
you
she
know, after
quit.
she got
Younger.
saved, after she knew
Yeah.
the Lord, she did quit smoking, but she smoked for years. You know, my mom and dad too smoked for many years. But you
Did
know,
not know
but
that.
it's just something you have to.
Yeah, I didn't either.
You
until
need to
2
realize
weeks ago.
that if someone says who in your family's died from cancer, your grandmother, you know, so that can go in your medical records of that, you know.
Well, and then
Grandma
Grandma,
smoked.
I think, so she would have had secondhand smoke from him
Yes.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know?
I
yeah.
don't remember him
Yeah.
smoking at all. I don't have any memories of that.
I
I
don't
think
either.
at the very first.
Yeah,
They
early
got
on.
saved after I met them. They got saved after Daniel,
Yes.
your daddy, got saved,
Mhm.
and they walked out to the backyard and got saved. And I remember
Yes.
that. So,
Mhm. Yeah,
so
Let me-
life changed a lot for them after that. You know.
yeah, and that's of course, what we remember and what we grew up knowing. I mean, I knew she was saucy, but
Yeah.
Didn't know pre Jesus. So
Yeah.
we only really knew her post Jesus
That's
with
the
a little
one we knew,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
We call that
Yeah.
BC days before
Yeah,
Christ.
she's like BC,
Yes.
before
BC,
Christ and
yeah.
after Christ. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before Jesus.
So we
So,
don't know the trauma. We don't know the trauma that she went through because I do believe
Yeah.
that she was abused as a young child.
Oh,
I do
100%.
believe that, and there were just adult signs of that.
Yeah.
And so, and the culture of the day. I mean, it was nothing to go out drinking and getting drunk and beating each other up, and she lived through that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
Kyle was known for that too. So,
Yeah, and I think knowing what we know now, like in our day and age of trauma and like the signs, I can look back now, and I feel like we've had this conversation, so forgive me if I'm repeating it from another episode, but I feel like I look back on her behavior now and see something very different. Like there were times when Grandma's
Yes.
behavior was very off-putting to me as a child. Like when I remember her and Daddy fighting about something, or her what I would equate to temper tantrums, adult temper
Yes.
tantrums.
Yes, there's no
But
doubt
as
about
an
that.
adult
Yeah.
now, I see that as trauma responses to things. And I see that as,
Mhm.
you know, her age back in the day, you didn't deal with your stuff. You didn't go to therapy to deal with the fact that your dad probably beat you, if not other things. You know, the people in your life. And
Even if
she
you even would tell anybody about it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
we know that grandma and grandpa had a huge age difference. We know that she got married at what, 14?
I think it was 13 or 14.
13 to 14.
Yeah.
And grandpa was what, 10 years?
He was 8 years older than her.
You know, I mean,
Yeah,
that
8
is
years.
When
so
you
push a
years,
little.
he could have been
Yeah.
10, but he was a bit older
He
than
was
her.
born in 1924, and she was born in 1932, I think.
Yeah. I mean, say what you will about, you know, whatever, why, however that happens. I mean, I have a 13-year-old stepdaughter. And if you could put into that situation and now you're a wife and everything that comes with that, there's going to be some stuff. There's definitely stuff going on. It's like I can look at
Yeah.
her now and I feel very differently about her now as an adult and how her behavior shaped me and the way that I
Yeah.
looked at it because I didn't have a lot of grace for her. Or I just chalked it up to she's being dramatic or she's, you know, this or this or this. And I look at it very differently now. And it changes the way that I have grace for people when you can see clearly, you know, she had these days that she never dealt with.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
I think
I should-
too, yeah. She got married early to get away from her daddy.
Yeah.
Because he
Yes.
was mean and, you know, whatever. So, and she had no education. She had to have somebody to take care of her. So, you know, I don't know how they met or anything, but I'm sure that it's all wrapped up in there. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, I think her mother-in-law really took her under her wing and helped her grow up. And out of the
Mhm.
stories that I remember, Grandma's talking about her mother-in-law, Isabor's mother,
Oh.
that she kind of took her under her wing and helped her grow up. So her mother-in-law influenced her a lot because
Well,
So
she
that's
had
probably
no
where
other
she got the-
motherly
Yeah.
somebody.
yes,
As I said, it's probably where she got the line to tell you, Patsy, that you just got to let them do what they want to do.
Probably
Yeah.
so.
She probably heard that from somebody.
yes,
Yeah.
no doubt
You know,
about that.
I couldn't abide by that then. That wasn't the way
Yeah.
I was raised.
No.
So
No.
it was another story. But
Girl, makes me
I know
take
this
off my
is
earrings today and fight somebody.
I'm gonna go in there, wake up Jared, and be like, just so you know, never gonna happen. Wake up, baby, we can talk. But to kind of just kind of give a little bit more about Patsy. So Patsy, you had Alicia, and you were a single mom for a really long time, and you eventually met a very nice man, Ken.
Yes.
And then y'all, when did you and Ken get married?
1996. We got married in February 10th, 1996.
And
And
you became a stepmom to two more
yes,
kids. So you
they
only
were 4 and 5 years old.
Oh my goodness, I don't remember them being that young.
yeah.
And we had them because their mother left and abandoned them, you know. And so I started all over again, and Alisha was in college.
Yeah.
So it's like, woo. And that included bedwetting and the whole bit, you know. So
I was gonna say, so
Well,
you gave birth to one, but you eventually had 3 kids,
Raised 3.
raised 3.
yeah,
And then how long were you and Ken married? Or 20 years, right? 21 years, yeah. And
21
yeah, and
years.
he's no longer with us. I'm very so sorry.
Yeah, I am very sorry too. He was a good
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I always really liked Ken because I think I was telling Jared earlier because like I used to babysit your stepkids when he was with his first wife, and they were little. Like,
Oh, I didn't
yeah,
know that.
I babysat Lauren and Cody a couple of times because they went to the church, and I
I
don't,
never knew that.
huh?
I said, I never did
Yeah, I
that.
don't remember how. I guess I just met them through church, but like Lauren was a baby. Like one was a baby, and Cody was a couple of years old or whatever. And I babysat them a couple of times, and then you eventually married Ken, and when did he pass away? If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. But
No, I'm okay. 2017.
2017. Okay.
So this past about a week ago was 7 years since he passed away.
It doesn't seem like.
So,
I mean,
It doesn't seem that long ago.
yeah.
no, it goes quick. But your heart doesn't feel like it goes quick. But
No.
time goes on by. But yeah.
And it was a cardiac event, right?
Well, they
don't think
thought
so.
so, but they didn't do it. I even talked to a cardiologist since then. We believe it was an embolism, like a blood clot went through his heart. And
Okay.
so I didn't want to do an autopsy. I didn't think that would help anything. I was too, I was a zombie at that point. So I
Traumatized.
didn't, but
Yeah.
it went down as a myocardio infraction. But
Which is a heart
all the
attack, but
doctors
that's not what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we don't really think that's what it was.
As-
Because I told the cardiologist how he died and what was going on, and he said that's not a heart attack. He said I'm sure it was an embolism. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
as a wife and a mother and all that, I mean, and forgive me, I don't mean to ask the question the way that it's going to come off sounding, but you know me enough, it's coming from love. But how does that? Because I'm newly married. I've only been married 2 years. Tomorrow, 2 years tomorrow. But
Happy anniversary, baby.
You know,
It is.
we're going to Texas Roadhouse. We're very excited. But
That's the part.
I asked, like, how does that? I mean, how does that change you as a wife and a mother? And
it changes you a lot because first of all, no one can understand what you're going through at all. Period.
Yeah.
If they have not been through it, and
True.
you don't want them to know because it's very traumatic. He died more or less in my arms. So it's even worse when it's sudden like that.
Yes, it is
But,
very much.
It changes your perspective on life, and things just aren't as important anymore that I, always thought maybe it had to be just this way or that way. I don't like confrontations. I don't like anything hard like that anymore because it all boils down to it doesn't matter because, in the long end, it's just not worth it. So, and you want to spend every waking minute with your family, and I'm sure that Alisha and her kids get tired of me because I check on them.
No, I'm like, when you moving in with us kind of a thing. I'm sick of you being on the other side of
there
10.
you go. Yeah.
But it does make you different. It makes you
Yes.
appreciate every minute that you have.
Yeah.
And I will say, I can't say it makes me stronger, like more independent. It just because I was already independent after living alone for 20 years before I met Ken.
yeah.
But
then you learn to
sometimes,
have somebody protecting you and sticking up for you for 21 years.
and that threw me back again. It's
Yeah.
like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And like he had begged me to retire when he just first retired, and I just wasn't ready. Of course, now I think I should have retired then. We could have had a little more time together,
Yeah.
but I didn't. And you learn from that. And so now when I talk to people, I say, if your husband is asking you to retire, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be with him. Spend every time. Spend every moment. I guess family becomes so much more important to you, and the children and everything. It's just like and memories.
Yeah.
I still go to the cemetery and pull up beside him and just sit and talk.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people think, oh, that's kind of morbid. No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
our
It's
time.
really not. You know.
I will say the one regret I do have, and this may sound morbid to you, but when Alisha and I were at the last, and Ken's body was still in the room with us, because we were at the hospital then, we were having to wait on the corner. I had an overwhelming urge to crawl up in the bed with him and just lay beside him one more time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought people are going to think I'm weird, I'm crazy, whatever. So I
Yeah.
did not do it. But I've read so much about that lately. They talk about, the books are about when your loved one is passing, we're always worried about, go get the nurse, go get this, go get that.
Yeah.
And you don't really have that time to experience that with them.
Yeah.
To be in the moment.
Yeah, just they be in that moment of, so it doesn't sound morbid at all. It sounds comforting. It sounds peaceful. It sounds like a good place to be.
And I kept rubbing his head, and his hair was so silky because he had just taken a shower. And I'm thinking, he can't really be gone, but he was gone. But I learned when I was about 22 or whatever, no, 27, my grandmother died, and I'd always been afraid of touching and seeing a dead person.
Mm.
And I walked up and I kept thinking, this is my grandmother. She was just fine before, and now how could she be gone, all this stuff. And I was kind of fearful. And my uncle walked up and said, you want to touch her, don't you? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, I'll help you.
Mm.
And he took my hand and he put my hand on my grandmother. And my grandmother, at that moment, God gave me such a peace because I could feel she wasn't there. I could feel that this is just the vessel.
Yes.
And I've never been afraid again. And it was the same way with Ken. I wanted to hold him one more time before he totally left me,
Yeah.
But I didn't do it, so I try to tell people that. Now, I know that's off the subject when you said how about
No.
That's not off the
how does that
subject.
make the family? But and then you can't talk, I couldn't function, because it was sudden. So Philip had to do all the talking for me because I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I think my mission in life now is to maybe help some others prepare themselves for that.
Yeah.
In that moment, you need to take time. It's like when you're putting a dog down.
Yeah.
Take time to be there with them and hold their paw.
Sure.
So it's kind of the same thing as family members, experience the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because you're going to replay it in your head 100 times anyway, but then you have, I think God also ministers to you so that he does a work in your heart while you're watching him go on,
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I knew exactly where Ken was going to be because I'd seen such a transformation in him. And so that gave me a little bit of peace too, but it helped me through the dark times and
Yeah.
stuff.
But don't you think that's that part of that dying grace that God promises? And we think it's for the person who may be dying, but that dying grace is for the living too, because he's given you grace to walk through that valley, of the shadow of death.
And what an honor to be able to be there beside your loved one to help them cross over.
Yes. Yeah, because I was sitting
And to
in
be
the
in
room
that
with
liminal
Mother.
space.
Yeah, when Mother passed, myself and Skylar was sitting in the room with her, and I was just holding her hand, and I knew, but I was, because there was a time when I didn't feel like I could live in this world, in a world where my mother didn't exist. And it was only when God gave me the grace to turn her loose, So that's that's just that grace that God gives us. I think our hope is in Him, and is when our loved one goes to be with the Lord. Now Ken was I always accredited the success of that daycare to Ken mostly, because it ended the way it started, and it started with such good business, how Ken had it set up, and when it come time to close it, it was as smooth as it could be. And I always accredited Ken for the ultimate success of the daycare. I don't know if you knew that or not, but yes, he did. I would fuss about some of the things he'd want us to do business wise. So why are we going to do that? He said, because it's the best practices, And so when all was said and done, I thought he was right, So yes, he is great.
Sorry,
just so you
He's
know.
a good man.
I'm sorry
I
you
know.
lost
I
him.
want you to know
really
that I
am.
know. So, so, yeah, got us all
So-
crying out, Patsy.
I know.
But it's good.
that was
Sorry.
that was
It's good.
another thing
No.
that I was I feel like part of my story is I got to be there when Grandma left her body.
Yes.
I was
I
gonna say,
don't-
Me and you were in the room.
Yes,
it was
we
me and
were.
you. Me
And
and
I
you were in
didn't
there when
know-
Grandma died.
And I didn't know at the time. Apparently, I heard afterwards that they were like turning the machines off and all the things, and I had no idea. I just
Yeah.
remember holding
Why
her
they
hand,
left us
and
in there, I don't know.
yeah,
But
really. Like,
it was
oh,
me
you
and
go
Alisha
see
in there
what
with
we're-
Grandma, and then they come in and they just start doing stuff, and me and Alisha are just completely oblivious to what's happening, and we're just like,
what's happening? Yeah.
what's happening?
And I remember holding her hand, and
Yeah.
it was warm, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I remember that vividly, and that's when I knew. I was like, oh, wait a minute, what is happening here? And then they started coming in and doing all the things, and I was like,
Yeah, they took her
Huh?
off life support. And then it's that, like you see it in the TV shows and the movies, it's that, and everything kind of goes flatline. But I feel like with Grandma, at least, that passing over, she was ready to go, because I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like as long as she was kept on life support, that was obviously that was our decision. That was Daddy and Eddie's, decision.
Yeah.
But she was kept on
Yeah.
life support way longer. And I remember, and Alisha, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember them telling us that it was going to take a while, and it took minutes.
I don't remember hearing
They're like,
anything
It didn't take
She
about
was
it.
ready.
well, you were in school,
And
Alicia.
for-
We had that when Sylvia called me in church and told me if she's gonna see him, you need to go get her now. And we got up and left church, drove all the way to Waco to get you, and brought you back, and we raced to get you back. And so that was probably why maybe they were waiting till you got there to unplug
Maybe.
or whatever they did.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to say, rest assured, that was not Daddy and Eddie's decision. She had already made that decision
Yeah.
Oh,
long before. That
Yeah, you got a
was
point.
not
Yeah.
her decision.
Yeah. But
That's true.
What is the minute they took her
Well,
off, I think we
that
were
doesn't
mentally
surprise me.
prepared. Yeah.
No, I said
No.
she made that decision and probably scared both of them that if you leave me on this machine, I will come back
Yeah.
Yeah.
and take care of
Yeah.
both of you.
But
They're
no,
probably
she was
like,
ready to go. The minute they took her off
No,
life
she was
support, the
absolutely
doctors
ready.
told us that it would be a while. But they
Yeah.
were just
Yeah.
like, it took minutes. I think that's why we were just kind of like, what's happening? But what's going on?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Do you remember how she laid down in her coffin just to see what she would look
Yes.
like in it?
listen,
She
Yes.
picked out her own coffin and she got in it and said, "Okay, how do I look in it?"
Well, it was how I
Alive in a
I thought it
coffin?
was how it would feel, not how she would look in it, how it would feel in it.
Oh, well, maybe it was how she
I
would.
feel like it was how
Well,
she would
don't
look
let
at
it last her one to know how it looked.
yeah.
Now, let's just be honest.
True.
Yes, she was.
I don't want
Oh
to say
my
she was
gosh.
vain, but she was a little vain, but in a good way.
Uh,
And she was buried in
She
her
was
wedding
beautiful, and
dress.
she knew it.
Yeah.
She was beautiful. She looked prettier than I've seen
Yeah,
any
she was
chick,
always
really.
pretty.
She was. Diana did a great job,
And
on
she
her.
knew it.
Yes.
She did not.
Yes,
She did know.
let's pivot. I
So
guess
Dorcas Penny.
Alicia.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's pivot to
Oh, we're
Alicia
45
for a
minutes
few
later.
minutes.
All right.
No.
Well,
This
we're
is not even
talkers.
this
What do you
long. This one just
expect?
looked bad. We're good. We're good.
Oh, Patsy, we loved every moment of it. So
Yeah.
keep going,
No,
girl. But keep going.